Welcome back to the grind for a guide on Path 4 of the Abyss. Now, this was my final path, and it's generally viewed as the more difficult path, and I kind of took a unique approach to it because I heard of an interesting kind of team strategy focused around Hercules for the Abyss path, and I recently got myself a rank for Hercules, and I was excited to play him more. I also had the Liquid Courage Double Edge damage masteries on at the time, and I was thinking, you know what, Herc does well with those, so I'll go ahead and try this path with Hercules as the main champion. You do definitely want to have Captain America Infinity War for synergies so that he can apply armor breaks when completing a feat. That allows you to handle very easily the tech champions as well as the two different Killmongers on the path. And then in addition to those two champions, I brought Shang-Chi to at least have a relatively easy run at Luke Cage and minimize the resources spent on him. And then I took Doctor Doom so that I could have someone for the Cosmic Champions primarily. I think I really only used him for... Actually, there was a champion, but he was a big help for Bishop. Completely melts Bishop down with no problems at all. And then the last champion I brought was my newly acquired rank 3 Human Torch, which is also puts in some heavy work. I would say the main champions for this path that I relied on were Herc and Human Torch. And so we're going to kind of go through fight by fight and just give some brief thoughts on who I used and how the fights went. And I do have most of the fights recorded as well, so I'll put some individual videos out for those. But here we're just going to kind of discuss it quick and have a quick breakdown for you. The first fight is Darkhawk, and Herc does very well against Darkhawk. You apply armor breaks every time you complete a feat, so you could just parry heavy, you could do lots of intercepting, and then baiting out his special ones. You do have to keep in mind if you do knock him down, you are going to be auto-blocked. But if you keep using your special one, then you can bypass auto block. That's not always the best case scenario, especially if you're going to have a lot of recoil if you are running the damage masteries. But that is something to keep in mind. I did find in a lot of scenarios, simply just holding to special 3 and then getting hit or tanking a special 3 in return actually ended up working quite well and conserving health very effectively. So I did rely on that for certain fights, especially because I didn't want to always heal up to full or throw too many health potions away. So I just put a 20% revive and went in with Hercules, and I tried to reduce the amount of recoil damage that I took. So Darkhawk was not much of a problem. And then Luke Cage was a fairly simple fight with Shang-Chi. I did end up using a few revives on him just for little mistakes, but nothing like having to throw a champion in there 10 to 20 times just to chip away at him. And hopefully you don't ever have to be in that situation. Shang-Chi can make that work very well. That was really the only fight that I relied on him. There was one other fight that he was very helpful for that you will have to have a counter for if you don't have Shang-Chi. The next fight on the path is Killmonger. Now, Killmonger is also pretty easily taken care of with Hercules because of all the armor breaks you can apply. The only annoying thing that I really had to deal with was if he throws his special one, then you've got that counterpunch charge on him, which can be annoying. What I did end up doing with those 20% revives is I would just hold block, let him attack into me, and then I would either do a heavy attack or just do a 5-hit combo and push him to special 2s. And then when I had enough power for special 3, I would try to push him to 3 bars of power, throw my special 3 first, and then let him hit me with his special 3 while I had the indestructible, and would give me a little extra power and just kind of help continue things going along. And so that actually worked really well for me, not too bad at all. And then the next fight on the path, we went up against Hulk, so Gladiator Hulk. Now that's a pretty annoying fight because the damage you do is capped to like 300 per hit. And so what I ended up doing was relying on Human Torch for this fight. You don't want to use the pre-fight because you want to save that for Mephisto, but Human Torch did pretty well with this fight. You can melt him down pretty quickly. I did have, like I said, Liquid Courage, Double Edge, and Recoil, so it was a bit less than ideal. If you don't run those masteries or you're okay turning them on and off, it'd be ideal to not have them on for this fight, obviously, because it's just health that you're losing, especially if you want to run boosts. So you don't want to run boosts if you're running Liquid Courage Double Edge. So he wasn't too bad with Human Torch, so that would be the go for there. And then the next fight is Yellow Jacket. And Yellow Jacket, Hercules can handle with no problems. You could do it with probably anyone. You probably wouldn't want to use Human Torch Actually, no, he should be the old version. So yeah, you could use most champions for him. You just want to push him to special 2 and then hold block and not let him throw the special 2 because he's going to stop gaining power. And then you can just hold block, reparry, or beta heavy, and then do a full combo or a heavy attack. And that's pretty much how the fight goes. You can use your special attacks on him. And then the next fight is Mordo. And Mordo, you have options as well. You could use Shang-Chi or Human Torch if you don't mind playing around the power gain. You can use Doctor Doom because you can benefit from the power gain. He's one of the better options in my opinion. Because his passive stun on the heavy and the special 3, he won't evade out of that. So you can still utilize those. You can nullify his power gain so he doesn't gain power. And then if you're awakened, Dr. Doom will get the power gain himself so you can continue to cycle special 3s more easily. And I didn't have too much trouble handling him with the damage masteries on despite the recoil and stuff. There's a certain way you can play Dr. Doom to reduce the number of recoil damage hits you take. And so that worked out pretty well for me. Of course, you could use Hercules as well, but with the class disadvantage, Mordo will evade a lot, and that's going to get you degened as well. And so it's just not ideal. And then Mephisto, quick, easy one-shot with Human Torch with the pre-fight. Not much to say about that. And then the next one is Ghost Rider. You can use Human Torch for that one as well. Works very well. Slowly build up the smolder charges because he's a mystic champion, and you'll start to ramp up your damage very high in that fight as well. And then the next fight on the path, you'll be going up against Korg, and Korg can be annoying, but the nice thing with Korg is once you deplete all his charges, you don't have to deal with them for the rest of the fight. So if you can last long enough, then it makes the fight so much easier. Hercules does really well in this fight. He does shrug off the Infuriate or whatever that debuff is called, so that can be annoying, but he can handle him pretty well. Alternatively, you could also use Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom works really nicely for that fight as well. I think I used a mix of the two. So yeah, whatever you prefer or whoever you want to use, depending on whether you're using damage masteries or not. And then the next fight on the path actually slowed me down a little bit. I assumed I would be able to handle him very quickly with Human Torch, and I didn't read his abilities close enough before I entered. So I got there and realized that I think it's every 20 seconds he'll apply both a bleed and a poison that lasts 15 seconds and deplete 50% of your health. So no matter who you're using, if you're not immune to those debuffs, they will take 100% of your health in 15 seconds, and then you'll have 5 seconds with them off, and then they'll reapply. So you would need a crap ton of healing capabilities, or you need a way to be immune or remove the debuffs. So unfortunately, Human Torch will not work for this fight. You can use Hercules and just do, as much burst as you can in the time that you survive. If you heal up, you'll live a little bit longer before you go into immortality, and then as long as you can be aggressive and maintain that immortality, then you can keep doing some more damage. But he can, get rid of your buffs if you get hit or with the special 2, and then if he throws his special 2 and you can't stun him or you can't hit him, then you can't pause the duration of your buffs. So it can really slow you down. So it's not ideal, but if you need to, you can just throw Herc at him a number of times and you will work him down. But I actually managed to do pretty good with Shang-Chi. Now the timing can be a little bit tedious. You ideally want to heal up a little bit so you have enough time to get off your first cleanse, which is a medium, light, medium, and then you'll be able to remove some of the debuffs. But if you have Liquid Courage Double Edge and then you get applied by another poison and bleed, once you do your medium, light, medium, you'll remove 3 of the debuffs and you'll still have 1 on you. So then you have to refresh it and do it again. If you do not have those damage masteries on, then you'll be able to remove them both very quickly. And then if you refresh your chi charges, any of the remaining cleanse charges you have left will be removed. So you want to make sure you don't refresh your chis when you're about to get hit by the bleed and poison. So you want to wait for it to re-trigger, consume the cleanse charges, and then refresh and reapply your cleanse. So it is doable. It is a bit challenging. This was probably the most annoying fight for me because I wasn't prepared for it. But if you want to bring a different champion to more easily handle this fight, you can. Just remember, Shang-Chi was who we used for Luke Cage, so you're going to want somebody for Luke Cage, or you're just going to have to brawl through Luke Cage with a different champion. Next champion to fight is Modoc, and Hercules does really well against Modoc. You will get, because of the science champion. You'll get power stings on you. If you have a debuff on the opponent when the power sting ends, then you won't get stunned. But also with Hercules, as long as you keep your feet up, which should be super easy, you're stun immune. So you don't really have to worry about that. The only thing you have to worry about is if there is a power sting on you when you're throwing your special attacks. And so sometimes you might want to wait that out, or they don't do that much damage, so you can just kind of use your health as a form of currency to allow yourself to use special attacks. If you use your special 1, you can bypass the auto block, or you can just throw a bunch of heavy attacks. You can play it however you want to, or you can just build up to your special 3 and use those. And then the next champion that you'll fight is Morningstar. Morningstar is pretty easy. I think it was 2 fights for me with Human Torch. I ended up messing up and dying. The only thing to keep in mind for Morningstar is the 10th hit on the combo meter has to be a heavy attack. And so if you just keep in mind that with Human Torch, you only want to do heavy attacks for that fight, then you'll do fine. Human Torch is a good parry heavy champion anyways. But if you're paying attention to your combo meter, you can do some medium heavy attack or medium light medium attacks. But remember, every 10th hit on the combo meter has to be a heavy attack. After that, you're going to go up against Darkhawk again, which we won't need to talk about because we spoke about him at the very beginning. And then you go on to Red Skull. Now, Red Skull can be annoying because he doesn't take much damage when he's below 1 bar of power. He takes a little bit more damage when he's above 1 bar of power, and he takes more damage when he's above 2 bars of power. So you ideally want him to have as much power as possible. If he keeps throwing his special 1, you can do an easy dex of the first lunging hit that he does, and then heavy attack. But you're not going to be getting as much damage if you continue to repeat that. So what I did was I would throw a heavy attack, hold block, parry, do a combo or heavy attacks, hold block, not let him throw his specials. And then when he was over 2 bars of power and I had 3 bars of power, I would throw a heavy attack and then launch my special 3 and then allow him to hit me with his special 3 right after. It'd get some power gain and I would work back up to a special 3 and I would be getting some good damage off of that special 3 while he was at full bar of power. The next fight is Bishop, and if you have Dr. Doom, it's a very easy fight. Not too much to worry about. The shocks are going to start building up his prowess. If you steal his power, you're going to do chunks of damage to him. You just put him in the Doom cycle, not let him throw his special attacks. If he throws his special attacks, you have to start over, and eventually he just starts to melt himself very quickly. The next fight will be Symbiote Supreme. Now, Symbiote Supreme can be annoying as well because the more times you crit, you're going to start building up charges. When you hit 20, you're going to start to lose power, take damage, passive unavoidable damage. So you want to not crit. So Hercules isn't the best for that one, but you can just, do as much burst as you can in a fight. But since Symbiote Supreme can nullify buffs, then you might not be able to use your immortality. Human Torch worked really well for this. It was a few fights, 3 or 4 fights maybe, but just parry heavy with Human Torch. If you heal up and you're not running the damage masteries, then you can allow a few blocks hits into the block, trying to parry the hits on his special attacks if you can to reduce damage while still taking hits into your block to allow you to build more smolders. And then the more smolders you have, the more damage you'll do, and just parry heavy and medium, light, medium, whatever you prefer to get as much damage off as you can before you land your 20th crit and then subsequently start to die. It wasn't too bad. It's just kind of frustrating because there's not really much good way to play around that. The next fight is Massacre or Massacre, whatever you prefer, and Herc did fantastic for that fight. You just have to do some hits into him. He's going to be indestructible while he's not blocking, and then when he's blocking, he will take increased damage into the block. So, and then you'll start to have increased block penetration the more hits on the combo meter. So you do want to hit into him, even though it doesn't do damage, to build up your combo meter. And then you want to force him to block, attack into his block, throw off your special 3 while he's blocking. And then you're going to be doing some big damage. I think it was 2 fights with Hercules for that one. The next fight is Omega Red. Omega Red isn't too difficult. Hercules does just fine against him there. And then Hyperion, I had Doom, so it worked pretty well there. You're getting lots of power gains that you nullify, so you're gaining lots of power yourself. And so yeah, that one, very easy fight with Dr. Doom. And then you go up against the second Killmonger on the path, nothing more to add for him. And then you do have to face Karnak at the very end, which is pretty easy. You just push him to the corner and then you just spam heavies. It's a bit of a long fight, and the longer the fight goes on, the higher your combo meter gets, the more damage you'll do. So it will start to escalate very quickly and high at the very end of the fight. You'll feel like you're using up a majority of your hits and you've barely done 10 to 20%, and then all of a sudden the last 50 hits you're going to be doing another 20%. The damage starts to scale really high. And then of course you do face the Collector, and Hercules, while not being the perfect counter for the Collector, works quite well. You can do some big bursty damage, and you can gain power faster while you have your feats active, and then you have the immortality as well. So when you do take enough blocked hits or mess up and get hit by a special 1 or special 2, then you're going to, still have that immortality, and then you can go and get as much damage in as you can. So it wasn't the worst fight, but again, not the absolute best counter. But if you just want to brawl through with Hercules, it is doable. So I hope that this was a helpful entry guide for you. I'll try to get more individual videos out for each of the fights I recorded, so you can plan a little bit more. And hopefully this is an interesting video for you in clearing a path with Hercules as the main champion. Let me know if you have any thoughts, additions, tips to add. Put that in the comments. If you have any questions, let me know, and I hope to see you in the next video.